Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, What's New with Conga. My name is Sheetal, and I am the EMEA Marketing Director here at Conga. And shortly, I'll be joined by Richard, who is our Solution Engineer, who's based here in our London office. Before we begin, I'm just going to take you through some housekeeping tips. You're currently on listen-only mode, so if you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can just enter that into the chat function, and that's just at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner of that slide, which we have up, you can see the contact details. You can tweet us, call us, or email us. So before I hand you over to Richard, I'm just going to take you through a quick agenda. So today we'll be looking at, Rich is going to give us a quick overview of what's happened at Conga recently. I know a lot of people who are on the call know who Conga are, or the Conga is, but there's a lot of things that have happened this year, so Rich is just going to take us through that. And then get into the demo aspect of it. So what updates we had in 2016 and what exciting new updates we're going to have in 2017. And then we're going to close off the webinar with some questions from the attendees. So with that, I'm just going to hand you over to Richard.
Great stuff. Thank you, Sheets, and hello, everybody. So what I wanted to do to start this webinar off is really just talk about the Conga Summary and give you a few statistics about us as an organisation. So Conga Composer, the document generation piece, is the #1 paid app on the Salesforce App Exchange. Last month we had a really record month and we generated over 5 million documents. We're one of the first Salesforce apps on the App Exchange, so we're going back 10 years now, pretty much to the inception of the App Exchange, and we were one of the first people on that market, and we've grown to about 8,000 customers. And because of our global footprint all over the world, we've got 24/7 worldwide support, offices in London, Milton Keynes, as well as offices in Australia and all over America as well. Now, we've got 4 main product lines with Conga. So we've got our data tool, which is Action Grid. We've got our document tool, which is Composer, Workflow, and Conductor. We've also got a contract management piece called Conga Contracts, also known as Conga Novartis, and Conga Courier, which we're going to talk about in a second. So what some of you may not know is back in 2015, we had some investment in the company, and what that's really allowed us to do is allowed us to focus on improving our products. We've been able to hire more staff so we can have more of a focus on that. And it's also meant that earlier in 2016, we had 2 acquisitions. So one was that data piece, Conga Action Grid, that I talked about a second ago. And the other was Conga Novartis, so the contract lifecycle management piece as well. So the next slide, hopefully it should give you a really good overview of what we do as an organisation. So over on the left-hand side, we've got Conga Action Grid. And, the way that I see this is that Salesforce is your statement of record. It's that kind of one truth, the database where all of your data is held within an organisation. And of course, every organisation, they have battles with data. It's all about having some reliable, accurate data within Salesforce and using Action Grid to control that. Now you've used Action Grid to really control that data, what you can do is you can utilise that data by working with Conga Documents. Conga Documents is all about creating smart, sophisticated, pixel-perfect documents, all done at the click of the button. And going on to the third one, Conga Contracts, so a lot of those documents will be contracts or terms and conditions or MSAs. What Conga Contracts allows you to do is really manage that entire process, negotiations, administering agreements, all directly within Salesforce. And lastly, the 4th product range we have is Conga Courier. That's automating custom report generation, so giving the right people the right data at the right time. And all tied together, it adds to that Conga document generation and data generation piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to start this webinar today, and we're going to start by giving you an overview of what happened in 2016. So much stuff has happened, and it's all available on our website. So if you were to go to support.getconga.com, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you're going to be able to find our release notes, and you can see every month we have a release, and that contains a number of different features and fixes and new additions. And what I wanted to do is just highlight today some of the key ones. So the first thing we're going to talk about is one of the companies we acquired back in 2016, which is the Conga Action Grid. Particularly, we're going to be looking at the graphing capabilities of that, as well as the Lightning UI, which really, brings the look and feel of the application up to date with also the Salesforce Lightning UI. And then we're also going to look at the documents part of the process, so Conga Composer, Conductor, and Workflow. And we're going to look at some of the new features such as white labeling, which is all about adding some branding onto the Conga UI. And it really gives you that consolidated look and feel, so your users are familiar with what they're clicking on and where they're going within the organization and within the Salesforce interface. The next one we're going to talk about is watermarking. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to control the document, add some watermarks to it, so people obviously can't photocopy the document, or possibly even if it's a contract that's in negotiation, maybe you want to have a watermark going across that, and so it's really obvious that contract's in negotiation stage. Lastly, we've got some new output destinations. And what I mean by that is when you're using the Conga document generation tool, you have a number of different options. So maybe once you've generated that document, you want to email it out. Potentially you want to save it back into Salesforce. You could even store it in Google Drive or download it onto your local computer. The new output destinations actually allow you to integrate with Box and also OneDrive, so you can store your documents in those data repositories. So let me go ahead. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to navigate into my demonstration org, and hopefully what you should be seeing in front of you now is you can see Salesforce. We've decided to do this demonstration today in Salesforce Classic just because I feel like that's going to be the version of Salesforce that most people are familiar with. Now, what should be looking a bit different is you can see that we've got an action grid right here on the home page, and it's completely customizable, so whatever data you want to see can be pulled through into these grids, and they can be put anywhere in Salesforce. So it could be a standard object, a custom object, for example. It really just depends on how you work as an organization. It's all about the ability to kind of view all of this data, to edit it if you need to, and really, gives that users a more and better experience within the Salesforce tool. So the most common use for Action Grid definitely has to be opportunities. So let me go ahead and open up one of the opportunities tabs. You can see there's a number of different options at the top, so we can look at the all open view. Maybe we want to look at the opportunities closing this month view, or this year by stage. One of the things that should be immediately obvious is you can see that some of the information in the grid has different highlighting on it. So let me pop that just out into full screen mode so you can take a better look. Now, some of the rules that we have set up in this conditional highlighting, we're going to have something like if the amount is over £10,000, highlight the text in green. If the close date is in the past, for example, highlight that cell in yellow and make the text red. Another example is if the amount is 0, so maybe someone's forgotten to enter a price or they haven't added products onto that opportunity, highlight that cell in red. And what this really allows you to do is it allows you to, when looking at the grid and all of this data, it allows you to see the most important things there and address any issues that pop up into these rules. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the sorting functionality to sort this on the close date, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click into one of these close dates, and I'm going to show you some of the editing power that you have when you're using this Action Grid tool. So you can see I've gone into here, I've updated that close date, I'm going to push it out until the end of December. Now, of course, you don't want to have to do these one at a time. The whole point of Action Grid is that you can do mass updating. So if I wanted to, I could go and I could do a mass update, perhaps just lasso these records on the screen in front of you, and then use something like a fill down functionality or a find and replace or a mass update to be able to change all of those in a single button click.
So, Rich, batch update is one of my favorite features of Action Grid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from a marketing point of view, when you get mass lot of leads that are missing countries or missing information, it's a great way to kind of update a lot of records. But um, that's from a marketing point of view. Can you give me some other use cases that are?
Yeah, absolutely. So with regards to Action Grid use cases, it really is dependent on how you as an organization works. So you can imagine if you were a company with a lot of factories, maybe you wanted to use Action Grid to track all of the inventories and all of the stock coming in and out of your warehouse. If you were a company that was, receiving a lot of cases from customers with queries and perhaps problems that they're having with the products, what you could do is you could use Action Grid to have a grid of all of the cases that are coming into that organization. And you could even use that conditional highlighting functionality to say, if that case hasn't been contacted within an hour, highlight that yellow or highlight it green or red or something. So you know that to contact these people and also to prioritize all of the different cases that are coming in. As mentioned, Action Grid works with any object, any data within Salesforce. So really, it just depends on how you're working as an organization.
So how does that work in terms of like user permissions, like Salesforce user permissions?
Yeah, so because Action Grid is 100% native to Salesforce, you have the all of the benefits and all of the advantages of the Salesforce CRM system. So, for example, you have all of the security wrapped up within the Salesforce frame, and if you had like a validation rule or if the user was not able to access certain pieces of information, Action Grid would 100% respect those rules and those permissions and those security settings. It's just a different way to interact and be more efficient with the data that you have within Salesforce.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Awesome. So what I wanted to do very quickly is just show you a few different options that you have with regards to the data. So maybe I can go ahead and click onto this Leads tab over to the right, which is going to be looking at all of the leads. Just to show you how easy it is to interact with the data, I'm going to just highlight some of the filters that we have at the top. So maybe we want to filter on state, and we only want to see a particular state, or possibly we want to, show things that are of a certain status, not look at anything that's closed. That's incredibly easy to do with the filtering system that we have within Action Grid. The other thing to mention is that you can also do a number of different groupings, for example. So if I wanted to group on company or the state or something like that, all I'd really have to do is I'd have to just drag that field onto the top of the grid, and Action Grid would very quickly just do all of that grouping for you. And you could even do multiple levels of grouping as well. Now, the favorite thing that people usually talk about with Action Grid is a concept called the reading pane. So let me go ahead and let me just click on that in a second. So what the reading pane allows you to do is it actually allows you to look at data that's related to the master object. So you can see that we've got an opportunity here called Acme Widgets. And you can see not only are we able to view the data that's on that opportunity, but we're also able to see the related data on that opportunity. So you can see the quantity, the list price, the sales price. You could go into here and rather than having to click on the opportunity or search for it, click into the opportunity products, click into, update that and then hit save. You can do all of it from this one consolidated view where it's really easy to access all of the data that you need and also segment it with the filters that are on top. And it's not just, the child data, you could also see the parent information like the account. And one of the other really neat things, and this is something that's been really popular recently, is this quick graph functionality that we have over on the right here. So at the moment, we're only looking at one record and we're just getting a visual representation of the amount there. But what we could do is we could look at all of the records within that Action Grid, and immediately what would happen here is the Action Grid would format all of that data into a really nicely formatted graph. And you can imagine if you're a manager, you'd even be able to save that image and send it out to the board packs, for example, include it in reports, or send it out to your team and say, hey guys, look at all of the opportunities. Please take these appropriate actions, for example. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go and hit back, and we're going to show you some of the new functionality with regards to the Conga documents piece. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click on one of these opportunities. And actually, when I'm in this opportunity, I think it's just important to highlight with regards to that action grid piece that you don't just have to use action grid on a grid, but you could also have it on the page layout as well, so all of the related lists of this particular opportunity. Now, the whitelisting and the white labeling, you're going to notice we've got these Conga document buttons at the top, so you'd simply just have to click on each one, whether you wanted to create a proposal or an invoice or a receipt. And I'm going to click on this one at the end, which is going to show you some of the white labeling and also the watermarking functionality that we talked about a few moments ago. So immediately you're going to see that we've got the logo, the custom logo, over here in the middle of the screen, and that's particularly useful if you're using Salesforce Communities or a partner portal, because it just allows you to have that consolidated branding and that consolidated look and feel throughout all of the Salesforce instance and also the applications that you're using within there. And you can notice it's not just on that loading page, but also on the top left here, we've got the logo of the organization. If I go ahead and just hit merge an email here, what's going to happen, Conga's going to grab all of that data, merge it into the template that we've selected, and in a couple of moments when that email screen loads up, what you're going to see is, again, we've got that branding over in the top left-hand side, so throughout the Conga experience, you're going to be consistently seeing those logos. Now, the other thing that we wanted to discuss with regards to the Conga documents releases this year is the watermarking. And if I go ahead and open up this PDF at the bottom of the page, what you're going to see here in just a couple of seconds is we've got this draft contract. So you can imagine if you were sending these contracts out and it wasn't the final version and you wanted to really communicate to the people that were receiving them that it was a draft, that it wasn't the final version, you could use this watermarking functionality, so you've got draft written across the page. And it's a very simple process to set this up. It's just a case of adding one parameter into the Conga button and also a merge field onto the template. And you can choose what the text is, you can choose the color, the opacity, for example, and also the angle. And that's going to come across onto every single page within that merged document. And it doesn't matter if you're working with a Word template or a PDF, they both function exactly the same. So I'm just going to jump back onto the PowerPoint here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to have a little talk about what's going to happen in 2017. So obviously there's going to be a load of things happening, not everything we can talk about, so definitely keep your eyes peeled on our Twitter, or if you've got any specific questions or any comments with regards to products or features you'd like to see, please email us at emeasales@getconga.com and we'll definitely take those on board. So the first thing that we'd like to talk about here is this special preview live edit, and this new feature is going to be a new feature for our Conga documents tool. It's not a separate module, for example, it's really just going to be integrated into the existing product that we have there. And if you think about it with Conga, if you do have an edit to change within a document, it can sometimes be quite an elongated process, so you have to click the Conga button, you have to merge the data into the document, download it onto your desktop, make a personalized change, so maybe a few sentences about the person that you're sending it to. And once you've made those changes, you need to save the document and attach it back into Salesforce. What this live edit allows you to do is it allows you to actually edit the document midstream. And what I mean by that is you click the Conga button, you have that template selected that you'd like to merge the data into, and just before it's finished being sent out via email or saved back into Salesforce or another data repository, you're going to have the option to be able to edit the text that's in there. The other thing that we're going to look at as well is Conga Redlining, and this is probably one of the most highly anticipated tools to be coming for Conga. A lot of people have been very excited about this. So you can imagine, you're using Conga Composer to generate lots of contracts, terms and conditions, MSAs, and what a lot of people experience is there's often a lot of redlining negotiation with regards to those contracts. Quite often they have to go through legal teams, procurement, and they're changing all of the different settings of those documents, all of the different clauses. What redlining allows you to do is to send a document out for negotiation. It allows you to track all of the correspondence going back and forth. And it even allows you to compare all of the different versions of the documents, see what's changed between version 2 and 3 or 4 and 5. And then once all of those changes have been approved, you're able to send it out. And you could even use one of our partners, such as DocuSign or eSign, to be able to do that.
Rich, I know you spoke about the features for 2016 that we've already implemented, like such as Action Grid, and now you're mentioning Live Edit and Redlining. Mm-hmm. Are these all standalone ones, or are they add-on? How does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have at the moment 4 standalone products, and these are actually modular products. So they're designed that you don't have to buy all of them, or you don't even have to buy several of these products, but you can actually pick and choose. So you can choose the products and the modules that are specific to your organization. So, for example, one organization, they may only want to use the Action Grid tool. Another organization, they may only have a requirement for the document generation tool, and you really can pick and choose. So the special preview, that live edit one, this one is really related to the Conga document generation piece, and that's just a new feature that's going to be added into that product. Redlining is a standalone product, and if you're looking at sort of kind of getting involved with that product and getting a sneak preview, please do speak to your account manager, and they'll be able to kind of discuss that in further detail.
Awesome.
Great stuff. So let me go ahead and jump into my demonstration org. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of that live edit and also a demonstration of the redlining as well. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to click on one of the contacts. And what you're going to notice here is we've got these Conga buttons which are going to be generating the document over in the top. I'm going to go ahead and click on this donation letter, and that's going to open up the Conga UI. Now, again, in a couple of seconds, you're going to notice that we've got the donation letter or the contact letter over on the left-hand side. One of the differences here is that we've got the live edit option just at the bottom of the page, and you can see that that's been enabled just at the bottom. So I'm going to choose to save a copy of this into notes and attachments. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on that merge and download option just at the bottom right. And what's happening here is all of that data is being merged into the template that we selected, but just before it's downloaded and saved into notes and attachments, we're going to have the live edit screen pop up on the screen, and it's within here that you're able to edit the automatically generated document. You can add some personalization. So let me just type a few things in there. And once you've made those changes and that editing to the document, you can go ahead, you can hit continue, and that edited document is going to go ahead, it's going to be downloaded because we've asked it to, and it's also going to be saved into notes and attachments with the changes that we made to it in that live edit screen. Now, the other thing to mention here is that the action, it doesn't have to be downloaded. If you wanted to, you could also have it being sent out via email. You could have it being stored in OneDrive or Box. It works with all of the different output options that you have available with Conga Composer. So the last thing that I wanted to show you all today was the Conga Redlining tool. This is currently in beta at the moment, so it's likely that there might be a few changes and a few differences when the final version is released in 2017. But hopefully it should be a really good overview of how this tool would work and some of the functionality that you would get. So this is a contract object within Salesforce, and we've got the redlining tool working with this object. It's really important here just to mention that the redlining tool, it works with any object. So if you were negotiating a document from an opportunity or an account, you'd still be able to use all of this functionality. And you can see, if we just go down this record, we've got the status of where that contract is, so it's currently in negotiating. We've got some information regarding that, so the account that it's related to, the primary document that it's using, and the contract start date and end date. And you can see as well that the file has been tracked within Salesforce, and if you receive a new version of that file with different redlining on it, this is going to automatically update, so it always picks up the latest version. And just below, you can see the activity history, so all of the correspondence between the parties involved, maybe it's legal or maybe it's procurement, is all going to be tracked within Salesforce. So I wanted to show you quickly just how easy it is to send one of these documents for negotiation. I'm going to click this button just at the top here, and we just need to choose who we want this document to go to, so who's going to be reviewing this contract. Let me just type something in here. We're going to be choosing a template, so that's the document that they're going to be reviewing. And we're also able to add an additional message in here, so let's just type something in here very quickly. Now, just at the bottom here, you can see that we've got the document we specified attached at the bottom. You can see that this is the third version of that MSA. So every time that's been sent back and forward, that's going to automatically update, so you're always using the latest version. So I'm going to go ahead and hit send, and in a couple of seconds we're going to switch to my email account, and we're just going to see how that would look from the person receiving the email. Okay, just a second. Let me just refresh that page. Okay, it looks like we just had a small internet issue there, so I'm just going to refill that information. Let me just hit preview and send at the bottom again. I'm going to hit send, and hopefully, yep, there we go. So email sent, and the activity updates are pending. So you can see almost immediately that contract has been pushed through onto my email account. What you're going to see is we've got that personalized email, and I think it's also possible to add some branding and some HTML styling to that email. And just below that, we've got the document that's going to be redlined and going to be reviewed. Now, all the person receiving that email is going to have to do is download that document, make any of the changes necessary to it. So, for example, maybe there's going to be different payment dates, or they're going to be removing certain clauses. Now, once you've made the changes to that, what you can do is you can reply to the email that's been sent. That's going to be automatically updated and tracked within Salesforce. And if we go back to that contract object, you're going to see that we can use this View Redlines button at the top of the page here. That View Redlines option is going to open up another window. And cleverly, what's going to happen here is you're going to be able to see all of the changes and all of the differences between the documents. So whether this paragraph at the top was removed, whether different things were added to the document. And you could even compare different versions. So maybe I want to look at the differences between version 1 and version 3, or however many versions there are. Sometimes these things can go back 20, 30, 40, 50 times. It really just depends on how you're working as an organization. So once that has been finally reviewed, one of the last steps of the process is obviously to send out the completed terms and conditions, the completed contract, and that's really where we could use one of our e-signature partners such as Adobe or DocuSign, and you could actually send out that finalized document using a Conga button integrated with one of those partners for that final e-signature piece.
Perfect. So thank you for that, Rich. I know there's a lot to show. I know we could have shown a lot more, especially with what we've done so far. And I know there's a lot coming next year, but those are the only things we can really show for 2017. So we just want to say thank you for joining us today. It was a really insightful webinar, and we will hope that if you guys have any questions, just pop that into the question chat there, and we'll take those afterwards. And if you don't have any questions right now, you can always look at the screen, and there's an email address, a phone number, and a Twitter account that you can always contact us on. So again, thank you again for joining us, and have a good afternoon.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone.